त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परम निधानम वेत्तासि वेद्यम च परम च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप वायु यमः अग्निवर्णश्च शंकः प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहस्य नमो नमस्तेस्तु सहस्रकृत्वा पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते. You are primeval God, the primordial spirit. You are the ultimate shelter of the universe. You are knower, the knowable, and supreme abode. The universe is fully pervaded by you, being of infinite forms. You are the God of wind, God of death, God of fire and water, the moon god, and great grandfather of beings. We salute to you thousands and thousands and again and again. In last session, I have described the remedy for arrogance retirement and how we can finish the ego or arrogance, and some process and points have been described. And in this session, I want to describe some special process of ego retirement. There are some particular process to finish the ego. Some special means or process of ego retirement are being presented. Please consider them seriously. First, we have received this human body. It is constantly leading up to death. It is constantly reaching towards death. Every moment, every time, every minute, its speed is moving towards death. Because of this, it is tribal. It is going to be destroyed. Therefore, egoism on this body is trivial. Next, the wealth and property and opulence and status, prestige, honor we have received in this world is going to end with time. After much consideration, it will appear to be transient existence. For this reason, everything we have received in trivial, its destruction is inevitable, if not automatically discarded. For this reason, it is enough to renounce it. Next special process of ego retirement, the knowledge available in our mind and intellect is extremely insignificant. There are no calculations before the knowledge of God. For this reason, we should never ego our knowledge. We should be retired from the trivial ego of knowledge. Next, our family members, contacts and related people who are on contact with us, we have all coincidence are in relation. For this reason, we should discharge our duty and deeds by abandoning our love and attachment. It does not create ego. The gathering of material things, the accumulation of material things is for the head of the ego. By dignity, things become available to us automatically. For this reason, the ego gets retired due to renunciation of accumulation instinct. For what next? For what your reason the ego is in us, on which the object is the moment and fragility of that cause and thing must be understood, and its destructive reason must be remembered. This also leads to ego retirement. Next, the renunciation of worldly things automatically leads to the achievement of peace. The ego is also retired when peace is attained. For this reason, by attaining peace through renunciation of worldly things, we should be rejected. We should be ejected from the ego. If next, by the constant remembrance of God, ego remains no more than chanting His name, because by continual remembrance and the chanting of name, we get the salutations of God. The defect of ego runs away automatically from the connection of God. One reason for this is that all the defects on the body are automatically eliminated by the proximity of God. For this reason, we should be constantly erased by cheering and chanting the divine, and is ejected from the ego. It is special means of retirement of the ego, and these are special points which I have described for the retirement of ego or arrogance. Some special facts regarding arrogance. I want to present some particular facts belong to the ego. Number one, we feel my and myself by arrogance. We feel my and myself by arrogance. This is me, this is mine, this is you, and this is yours. Thus the feeling is due to ego. It lives in every human being. The seeker tries to get rid of me as I am, considering this is my own ego. When there is feeling of me and my belongingness, then the seeker should consider himself ejected from the ego. For this reason, the means of eradication, the means of testing of egoism is mine and mine. If the seeker has this defect, then he has not been ejected from the ego. A simple solution to this is that the things we own are not really ours. this seeming symptoms of ego retirement. As long as there is affection and attachment in them, then the seeker should not feel egoized. Next, the ego resides in all three qualities, Sat, Raj, Tam. Sat, Raj, Tam are the qualities, are the virtue. In these three qualities, Sat, Raj, Tam have three, the ego. Every human being has three qualities which are called Sat, Raj, Tam. In this way, the ego also becomes of three types. It is called Sattvic ego, Rajasi ego, Tamasi ego. Among the Sattvic humans, the Sattvic ego is dominant. The great legends of the spiritual realm, we are covered with this ego. The Rajasi ego is in the people trying to store earthly things, and by the availability of worldly pleasures. The Tamasic ego is found in antisocial, unrighteous and wicked humans. Apart from the Sattvic mixed Rajas, Rajas mixed Tamas, Tamas mixed Sattvic ego are also found. Sometimes there are two types of egos in men. Just as a Sattvic person wants to collect Sattvic bhog items, and this is the result of mixed ego. Next fact belong to ego is realize the happiness and sorrow due to ego. It is due to ego that we feel happiness and sorrow. The feeling of sadness in adverse condition and feeling of happiness in favorable circumstances is due to ego. Egoless person experiences this feeling of equality of happiness and sorrow. He never feels happiness in compatibility and does not see suffering in the adversity. Due to ego, we feel happiness and sorrow. If the realization of happiness and sorrow ends in a person, then the ego should be understood and he has gone towards liberation. This is a test of ego's retirement. Next fact belong to ego. False belief of visual word due to ego. The word is not true. It is false. Only God is true. This quote is famous. Why is the word not true? Why is it is false? Every seeker should consider this. This word is slowly ending. The word of the past millions of years has slowly come to an end. This word that we are seeing you will also, and with time, will not be, because the word of tomorrow is not today, but the word which seems to us is false and believes what's not an object and seems is said to be false. This is called mragamarichika. As long as there is ego, the word appears to be true, and when the ego is finished, the word will start to seem false. You will get false sight to the word, to this word. Ego is changeable So perfect person knows this. The ego is actually in the body as a disorder, just like when there is a fever in the body, the food does not taste good and there is malaise in the body. This food is not good, and malaise in the body is due to fever disorder. Similarly, ego is disorder from the body, and as long as the ego remains, we cannot be divided by of disorder. We can believe this for some time, but if we have to believe this ego-related disorder in totally, then we have to be self-denying. The imperfect male sees to the ego and times to test it and end, get rid of disorder. Just like when our eyes work in the body, we walk by looking at the path and know whether this path is fair or inappropriate. Next, ego is the root cause of foundation. Ego is said to be our bond. We indulge in ego and do many kinds of antisocial acts and misdeeds, being serious every day and in their lives in the accumulation of many types of enjoyment material. Today we have received it and tomorrow we will get it. Today we have no much money and tomorrow it will be so much. This instinct is there. The work order this attitudes as long as the idea of this work remains, there is a bond. We roam around in many hopes. This bond is all due to ego. For this reason, the ego has been asked to bond. Next, ego is the main obstacle in liberation. The ego-covered speaker cannot attain liberation. Why could not? It is also worth considering. In ego-covered man, there is a sense of self and my spirit. It keeps us covered with the spirit of the world. The contact with the things of the world and the feeling of ownership of the world, as long as the world is ever of it, it is connected to it. There is attachment and solitude. Then how can we have hope of liberation? It cannot happen in it all. For this reason, salvation cannot be accepted during egoism. The soul cannot remain pure even after being clean. It has been believed, as the reflection of the mirror is not clear due to dust settling in the mirror. We have to clean the dust cover to show the mirror's clear image. In the same way, the ego defects attracts the soul. It should only understand the intensity of the ego and try to distort the ego. Egoless person have no worldly thoughts. This is next fact. Mind's instinct is relation, and intellect instinct is determination. A man with ego is lost in many kinds of relations and choices. Like someone insulted us with some harsh word, then we are able, we take that insult as an immediate realization, retaliation, retaliation, and we also counteract it by using our mind and intellect. That is many kinds of resolutions. This determination and choice continues even after the event. It is the ego that forces us to make many kinds of resolutions. If we are not able, then we wait for the right time and think with our mind that we have to do this, we have to do that, it is appropriate, it is unfair, etc. Considering the facts, find relations and alternatives. This is all a form of ego. For this reason, as long as ego remains, these relations and circles are not exhausted, and the ego cannot be eradicated. Next, due to ego, mind feels doer. I am doer. I do work. Work is done by me. This is to be said doer. Man does not do action. The qualities are exercised in the qualities. Because of this, all the actions are due automatically. Man is compelled to act under nature. All these facts make it clear that man does not do karma. If a human being accepts that we do not do karma, then he is automatically ejected from the ego of the doer. Normally, man says that we have done this work. Man performs sat karmas and fixed karmas and antisocial deeds and believes them to be done by himself. This is a common fact. If we do karma by renouncing selfishness, then we are eradicated from the ego of the doer of karma. There is sense of selfishness in the everything we do not, and created a sense of duty and nonsense. When we are retired from our ego, we do not consider ourselves to be the doers of any action, and we are retired from the feeling of subjectivity. Next and last, retired ego erupts again through contact with the thinking faculty. It is not easy to retire from the ego by keeping constant effort. With effort, we can be retired from the ego. If a person retired from ego comes again to the worldly connection, then he again becomes covered with ego. The mind is one such element that again distracts the egoless man. The memories of earlier deeds are stored in the mind. For this reason, whenever the ego gets into a coincidence of the mind, it can re-erupt and produces many kinds of auto-malaise. For this reason, the cleansed seeker does not use the thinking faculty, does not allow the ego of come in contact with the thinking faculty. There are